Ben ritrovati amici di Lago Film Fest, siamo qui oggi presenti con un'intervista con Michael Omonua, il regista di Rehearsal, in competizione a Lago Film Fest 2021. Hello Michael, how are you?
Yeah, great, thank you Nicholas. Thanks for having me on here.
Oh, please, and the pleasure is all ours. We're a big fan of your work, and we're excited to show it and to show it in our festival.
Okay.
So, Rehearsal, do you want to first speak a little bit about the movie and what can you tell us about it?
Okay, yeah, sure. Rehearsal is a short film. It's essentially about a group of actors who come together in a sort of a rehearsal hall to rehearse a play. And the play happens to be about a church group who are rehearsing for Sunday service. So it's sort of like a rehearsal about a rehearsal, and we were sort of looking at the artificial bonds between church and theater.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. The movie, we can almost say it's like a meta-narrative about the aspect of rehearsing in a way.
Yeah.
And actually, I was curious, being such a sort of not conventional type of narrative, what was the process and what was the challenges you had to face in finding funds and producing a movie like this?
Okay, yeah, sure. It's especially, well, yeah, it is an unconventional narrative, especially for the sort of region I'm in as well. In Nigeria, you don't traditionally have like more artsy type work made here. You generally only have sort of more commercialized romantic comedies and that type of stuff made here. So yeah, when you're looking for funds for this sort of thing, it's practically impossible. So you have to sort of go the independent route and raise the funds yourself, or just self-fund, which is what I did in my case, and just sort of pull in a lot of favors from friends and colleagues, and that sort of thing. But once I did get people together to sort of come on board and jump on board, everyone, they gave 100%. And I do feel that generally people are more excited in this part of the world to work on stuff like this because they don't often get that opportunity. It's usually just, commercial sort of art house, romantic comedies and that sort of stuff, as opposed to art house work like this.
Okay, yeah. Well, we definitely have something in common about getting funds for unconventional projects here in Italy as well. So I get where you're coming from with that struggle.
Yeah.
And yeah, as you said, because Nigeria is being famous for the whole Nollywood scene and the Nollywood industry, it is a really unconventional movie actually, coming from Nigeria. Do you think, knowing that you studied abroad and had worked in the UK, if I'm not mistaken, do you think it would have been easier, or would have been the same movie if it was proposed and maybe pitched in a European market?
I was born and raised in the United Kingdom, sure. But there are other filmmakers here doing like this sort of work, what that's more challenging, let me put it that way. There are a lot of filmmakers trying to do that, and it's sort of like a newer generation coming up now, who are raised in Nigeria, born and raised in Nigeria, and they are doing more sort of artsy type work, or at least trying to do more challenging work that's not conventionally sort of Nollywood. I think there is sort of this distinction growing between sort of typical Nollywood cinema and Nigerian cinema, if I can put it that way, where people are trying to target more international audiences as opposed to just targeting just Nigerians in the diaspora and other Africans. We want Nigerians to watch our work, but we also want sort of it to have that kind of universal type of aspect to it, whereby someone in Italy can watch it and enjoy it, or someone in Brazil, or wherever it is they are, and not just like Nigerians in the diaspora. it's always a struggle to raise funding for any kind of project, and especially this project. I wouldn't say it was easier for me to put this together. I feel like there have been a number of sort of Nigerian filmmakers who have put projects like this together, which are challenging and had sort of success doing it as well. You know, I'm part of a cinema collective called the Surreal 16, and there's Abba Makama, who's a filmmaker as well, and he does very kind of challenging artistic types of work. And you know, he's self-funded, and he's managed to sell 2 projects, feature films, not shorts though, but to Netflix. So it can be done, you know, if it's your goal. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So talking a little more specifically about Rehearsal, what that actually, as you mentioned about getting an international viewer, the short movie was in competition in Berlin, and if I'm not mistaken, the 71st edition of the Berlin Film Festival. And what was the experience getting into such a prestigious festival like that? And talking more about the reception that you felt got into this prestigious festival. So, sorry, I hope I was clear.
Yeah. Well, firstly, it was a bit of a shock to get in because it's always been like a dream to get into, but it was one of my dreams to get in a film into Berlinale. And to have achieved it, it was a shock at first, and then it was just like, oh yeah, you know, I was overjoyed. So it was a brilliant feeling. And I guess once I got there, it was just a case of just trying to take advantage of, you know, the situation and the attention it sort of brings you, being part of that sort of festival, because a lot of people have sort of reached out to me for screeners and, you know, representation and, you know, what am I working on next? And I guess that's probably the first time I've ever had people, you know, producers and financiers sort of just reaching out to me with emails and wanting Zoom meetings and that sort of thing. So yeah, it was a shock, but it's also been like this brilliant opportunity that sort of presented itself. And I guess it's made people notice the film, as opposed to maybe if I hadn't got into Berlinale, it would have been a bit more difficult for people to sort of notice the film was out there, because there's a lot of shorts being made every year. So, you know, to get into Berlinale, it does give you that kind of spotlight. People do want to watch it, and, you know, so you get inundated with screener requests from all sorts of people. So yeah, it's been a wonderful thing.
Okay. About the movie, the movie is beautifully shot, by the way. It's a wonderful movie, and I give my appreciation to, I hope I'm not butchering it, Casey Obiajulu, your DOP. And it's interesting because it is framed in a really peculiar way, because even if it's a movie about actors rehearsing and doing it, we're never close. No, we're never really that close to them most of the time. It's always like we're also like watching as we are spectators from a stage point of view. So I wanted to ask you if it was like a decisive and conscious decision, or if it was just like something that came out of the chemistry between your collaborators.
Okay, yeah, I would say it was definitely, it was a bit of both. We spent a lot of time discussing like the feel, the tone, the look of the film. But I think a lot of it was down to sort of our unique chemistries. I'm more of a kind of meditative cinema guy, you know, from that kind of transcendental tradition of Ozu, and, you know, not moving the camera a lot. Whereas, you know, Casey, you know, he's coming from a music video background. He does a lot of the he DPs a lot of the high profile music videos in Nigeria. I think he shot for like Wizkid and Burna Boy. And so he's coming from that kind of background. Like he's done some narrative cinema as well. So, you know, we had to sort of come together and find a vocabulary for this particular film. And I think we sort of met in the middle. You know, I wanted to do a lot more sort of dynamic blocking than I usually do. And he sort of introduced the sort of camera movement into that kind of blocking. There are instances where it is just like this sort of vignette where the camera doesn't move, and like you say, it is kind of like this. You're separated in like a stage-like manner from what's taking place. You're sort of observing in the same way that you would a theatrical performance. But yeah, I guess it was just a blend of our two sort of worlds, and us just sort of coming together and just finding something that worked for us. Sometimes it was just down to a lack of time on set. So we couldn't actually do exactly what we wanted to do. So it was just a case of, all right, let's let the scene play out, put the camera down, and we'll just do it in 1 or 2 shots, and then we'll have to move on. I think that's just the nature of cinema. And people understand.
Yeah, especially there. Yeah, and about the acting, the actors have a really like to get also into the methodical acting of the movie. But the performances are like a blend into like a sort of, as you said, because I can see the Ozu inside the movie, beside the camera, like the actors have like a sort of reaction to the things happening to them that give them like this sort of, I don't want to say like a deadpan reaction to everything, but it's like they have like a stationary and really precise and imposed way of acting. How was that you came around that type of work, or is it even here like a chemistry between your cast and the director and the direction you were able to give them?
Okay. Yeah, I've always favored more nuanced and understated performances from films that I've watched and from actors. I don't know why that is, but that's just what I've liked. And so that's just kind of like what I've tried to achieve from my performances. I think sort of, I've been in Nigeria for 10 years, and I think Nigeria typically is the opposite of that. So maybe it's also, that kind of understated feel, and my way of trying to convey performances has sort of heightened because of the Nollywood tradition to sort of overdo things in terms of performances. I guess it's the way I just direct in terms of like I prefer that kind of feel, not overdoing it. I just prefer understated performances.
Okay. Well, we're about close to time. My last question to you, Michael, is after rehearsal and all the attraction is getting, what is the next step in your career? What are your next projects, if you want or can talk about? And what do you hope to be right now in the next year?
Okay. Well, we got this anthology feature film that I was part of. I directed a segment. It was it's called Juju Stories. It's about Nigerian folktales with supernatural themes, and there's 3 parts. There's a part directed by myself, part directed by Abba Makama, and my other collective member CJ Fari Obasi. And that's going to come out later this year, hopefully to cinemas as well here in Nigeria. And I'm working on developing a feature, and I'm working on a new short film, which is early stages.
Oh, perfect. Well, I hope you're able to finish it, and hopefully even this one gets into the Lago Film Festival. We will be more than happy to have it
fantastic.
And to have another film of yours. Well, bene, allora questo è quanto con il nostro Michael. Ricordatevi, Rehearsal è in competizione nella categoria del principale del Lago Film Fest. Lo vedrete in loco al Lago Film Fest dal 23 luglio al 2 agosto o nella versione online. Michael, I once again thank you for your presence here today, and
thank you,
and well, like, sorry.
No, thanks for having me on the live broadcast. I really do appreciate it.
No, thank you. Well, I hope you have a wonderful future ahead, and hopefully we'll be able to see you in the festival in the next year. This time for real, in person.
I was, yeah.
Well, thank you and bye.
Okay, goodbye.